So I've had some people ask me what this was. It's a French press, and here's the whole thing. And asked me not only what it is, but how it works. So I decided to do a video. I'm not a professional at it or anything, but let's see. Close these blinds. Kind of bright right there. Anyway, so I figured I'd do a video to show how to make the French press coffee. And right now I have my tea kettle. It is on the stove and it's heating up right now. Now you're not supposed to let it boil. What I do is I wait till it just starts to whistle, and then I take it off of the heat and I let it sit there for a minute and everything to kind of get it to not be boiling anymore. And I usually use that time to get everything else put together. Right now I've taken the liberty already of grinding my coffee beans. So I keep my coffee beans in a jar. Yes, I need to refill it. But I have a little spoon scoop in there that came with my French press. And for this size, this is an 8 cup, which really translates to a lot less than 8 actual cups of coffee. So, but for this size 8 cup, usually a drip coffee maker makes 12. It asks for 6 tablespoons of coffee grounds. Well, when you do a French press, they need to be coarse grounds. So my particular grinder has a setting that I can choose to do coarse, and it also chooses the size, and I set it to 8 and I set it to coarse for when I'm doing my French press. Okay, so the first thing you do with this is you take your coffee grounds and you put them in the French press flask. So there's still a little bit in there. And so when my water is done, I'm going to put it in here. Now, this requires 32 ounces or 4 physical measuring cups of water. And I use this when I make my coffee. So I just use it to measure my coffee while I'm at it. This is a Pioneer Woman brand of measuring cup. This is a 4-cup measuring cup. So I fill it up, the 32 ounces, I put it in my tea kettle, and I put it on the stove. And you're not supposed to put it on high when you do a teapot. You're supposed to heat it up about a medium high or medium. So I put it around 6 or 9, which is a 10. 10 is high. So I put it around between 6 and 7, so like 6.5 when I heat up my water. So really the only other thing we need is the water. I'm going to actually check it since the video is waiting. And if it looks right, then I'm going to go ahead and use it without waiting for it to whistle. Okay, so it's actually at a good spot because it's right when it starts to boil where the little bubbles are in the bottom, but it doesn't quite whistle. So what I do is I'm going to put all of the water in my French press. I want to make sure you'll be able to see. Let me turn this just a little bit. Okay. So I have my coffee grounds in the bottom of the flask. Alright. And I'm going to pour, I'm going to do about halfway to start with. And I'm going to stir the coffee grounds and the water together. Now it's important that the water's not boiling. It needs to be hot but not boiling. And you can look up the temperature it's supposed to be specifically. I don't really remember. It just is supposed to be hot and not boiling. So I usually stir about halfway in so that the grounds start to mix. And then I use the water coming out to rinse off my spoon. Okay. and then I put this on here. This has an open side meant for pouring and a closed side. So while it's sitting here brewing, you're supposed to put it on the side that's closed. Alright, make sure it's on there right. And now what I do is I set my timer for 4 minutes, and it's supposed to brew for 4 minutes. So I'm going to pause the video right now and then wait. Okay, so it still has a couple minutes left to brew, but I wanted to mention a few things while waiting, so I'll have to add it to the end of the video. What you want to do is you want to rinse this out right away to keep it clean. You don't want to let it set in there and then you'll have to clean it. It'll be a harder process of cleaning. Whereas if you just rinse it right away, you don't have to worry about it. And then also the same with this. This is my coffee grinder cup that goes to my machine over here. And it should be rinsed out right away, which I will be doing it all at one time together. But I just wanted to tell you the easiest way to rinse it out, because I'm not going to do it on the video, is I'm going to turn on the faucet of the sink, and preferably hot water, and I'm going to fill it up about halfway, and I'm going to swish it around, and then I use a strainer, and I put the coffee grounds in there, and I check and see if there's any left in here, and if there is, I'll do the same thing. I'll add some more hot water, swish it around, and add it to it. And by then 99.9% of it should be gone, so if there are any grounds, it's not going to be a problem to just wash it down the drain. So I just rinse it out really good, and then this part I take it apart, and it comes apart into 3 pieces, and so I take it apart, 4 pieces, 4 pieces, including the stick, but there's 3 pieces attached to the bottom of it, which is the press part right here. But what I do is I take it all apart and I rinse those off really good, and then I set it on like my drying mat and let it just dry, air dry, and then it's fresh and ready to use again. And there's the timer. Okay, so what I do now is I just press this down carefully but firmly, so where all the grounds are being pushed down to the bottom. And now that I've got it all pushed down to the bottom, I'm going to spin this part to where the open part is facing the spout. And I'm going to pour it. I'm going to hold the lid to make sure that, I don't know if it'll fall off, but if it does, I have it secured in my hand. I've never tried it. But I'm going to pour it into my measuring pitcher that I have here. And what I do, because I'm the only one who drinks the coffee, I add my creamer to it, so that all I do is pour it directly into my cup for a refill. So there's that, and I'll do the rinsing of it right after this video is over. But I take my creamer and I add it to it. So now my coffee is already ready for me to just pour it into my glass, not my glass, but my coffee cup. There. So my coffee is ready. Now what's to do is to rinse these 2 items and enjoy.